Well, hello. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Laurene. It's nearly midnight here in Halifax. I just got off the Zoom call with my Bookworm Adventure Girls Book Club. Reading Across Canada, I think is what it's called. And we've been about 3 to 5 people for the last little while. And so I think we've been doing this for about 3 years now. And so the books just seem to be getting better and better. I'm enjoying myself. So this month we always read Canadian. And we've done a little bit of fiction. No, I'm sorry, we've done a little bit of nonfiction. And to this month's was Margaret Laurence, The Stone Angel. Now, interestingly, we've got one gal, she's from Montana. I'm so bad. I get the states' names mixed up with the city names. Anyhow, she's from Montana, and she occasionally comes up to Canada by way of BC. And I don't know how she found us, but she found us. And so for her, this was not a book that she had read in high school. And the rest of us have all bumped into Margaret Laurence is somewhere in grade 12 or 13, I think. And I'm about 15 years older than the others, I think. Yeah, what am I thinking? Like maybe even 25 years older than one of them. So I don't know if it's still happening, but the Canadian School Board taught Margaret Laurence in the high school system forever, because I would have encountered it in the 70s. And one of the ladies was saying she read it in the 80s, 1980s. And to start off this discussion, I should tell you where I am. I'm in my bedroom. Steve on Tuesday nights usually has a whole bunch of people over, and they play guitar and ukulele and banjo and kazoo. It can get pretty noisy, and I don't usually have book club on Tuesday night. It's usually on Wednesday night, but I'm not going to be in town tomorrow, so they kindly moved it. That's why I had to come up into my bedroom to get away from the noise. It's not noise, it's music, but it's music at the wrong time in the wrong place. For me, not for them. Okay, so all of us had bumped into this book when we were teenagers, and we all remembered it. We didn't remember the same things, and we didn't remember, each person had a different amount that they remembered. But one of the things we kind of asked ourselves right off the bat was, why had this been taught in high school? We've got Hagar, who's the main protagonist, and she's in her 90s. She's sort of like somewhere around her birthday. I think we meet her when she's kind of 90 and turns 91. Well, what a crabatha. She has got nothing nice to say to anybody. No matter how you slice it, she can just find a way to just knock the winds right out of your sails. And we encounter Hagar when this beginning of the story begins with Hagar as a young girl, and she's in the imaginary town of Manawanka, which is based on Margaret Lawrence's own hometown, and I don't remember where that was. And Hagar, her mom died when Hagar was born, and so she's raised by her father, who is a very strict, no-nonsense, Scots businessman kind of guy. And she has 2 older brothers who are about let's just say, 9 and 7 years older than her, roughly. So they get together along fairly well, as brothers do, and then fight as brothers do. But Hagar doesn't mesh, and her dad is not in any kind of a way an affectionate kind of guy. And through the early years, we do not see any female influences on Hagar's life. So she's one of these kids that's raised to be proper and to be a credit to her dad, but she's not getting any kind of kindness or compassion or anything. So very early on, we see Hagar pretty much as she's going to be by the time she's an elderly lady. She doesn't budge. She is stubborn to the point of, not, I wouldn't say self-harm, but stubborn to the point of sticking with a decision and not even really questioning it. Like, there's just, if there's doubt in her mind, she suppresses it really well. So she's sort of infallible in a way, because she just can't be wrong. And she also is not going to be controlled, and will make a few decisions in her teenage years that ends her up in a marriage that is so unsuitable. I mean, I didn't mind her husband. I didn't see anything wrong with him, except that they were just so ill-suited. And so she's in this marriage that, even when she sort of gets a little bit of affection for him from time to time, she's just not going to let it go. She's not going to let it out of her system. She's not going to indicate in any kind of a way that he has any kind of pleasing or interesting or copacetic kind of personality for her. It's just a marriage that is just two people doing this on and on. And well, then he is a bit of a lazy farmer, and she was raised as a town girl, expected to take over her dad's business, and now she's a farm wife. And she keeps the house totally clean. She keeps everybody totally clean, but frump just sets in, and she has got so much judgment about the people around her, the people that she grew up with, their parents, just anybody in the community. She's got an opinion. So she never budges from the opinion, contrary to all evidence. She's just, if someone was a lazy girl when she was 12 years old, she's a lazy woman. It's just, she has no shifting point at all. Hagar, right up until her 90s, there's many things, I don't want to give you the plot away, because there's not a ton of plot points, but through her life, she just doesn't really move. She's unable to be vulnerable. She's unable to be kind. I think she's got a grasp of empathy, but she just doesn't know what to do with it. And she, I think inside of her, I think inside of her there is a really potentially lovely person, because through the writing of the author in Hagar's head, she has got such incredible observational skills. And so we will see a dresser full of photographs of her family and so forth. And it's like you're right there beside the dresser looking at each photograph with Hagar. There's other times when she's out in nature and she describes the fields, or the way the wind is blowing, or the way the water's moving on the ocean and so forth. You are so completely immersed in the setting, but these are Hagar's thoughts, and so there's this person in there, there's this poet in there that just has no voice, because in a choice to have a conversation with somebody, no, she's not going to talk like that. That would be weak. That would be it would be vulnerable to express what she saw in the garden that day. So there's not a soft thing about her. Well, the stone angel refers to an angel that has been brought at great expense from somewhere, and is carved to stand on the grave of her mother. And it's a fairly obvious metaphor or simile, I can never remember which, that Hagar is much like the stone angel. At a certain point, the stone angel falls or is pushed, and Hagar and one of her sons set it back upright. Is this because it's representational of Hagar, the implacable, staring down in total judgment on the village, or does she identify with the angel in a different way? There's a lot of references to stone and so forth across the book. Margaret Laurence is a writer who does use symbolism in her writing, and when was this published? I think we talked about it was 1970s, but I can't remember. One of the reasons, while I'm looking that up, 1964. So I lost my train of thought. I had two thoughts at the same time and lost both of them. So the back of the book is there's a statement by Emma Donoghue, who I meant to look up and find out who Emma Donoghue is when she's baking a cake, but I forgot. So thank you, Emma Donoghue. But I think she said this in a nutshell. I will always treasure the Stone Angel, not only for its intransigent, stony heroine, but for the way Margaret Laurence turns this account of one 90-year-old's rage against the dying of light into a mythic, epic battle. And yeah, I think this is an excellent summation of the book. Now, one of the things that I started to say initially was that none of us understood why this book was taught in high school, because as 16, 17-year-olds, we're like, what a bitch. I mean, she never tried to be nice once. And so all the blame is on Hagar for having been so rigid. And yet now I'm reading it as a 66-year-old, and the others were reading it as 40-year-old, 45-year-old sort of thing. Anyways, they're such babies. We have a better sense of what it's like to be an older person, what it's like to, each one of us has had some sort of a reason to be immobile, and so we all understand what it's like to be 90 years old and not be able to get out of a chair or get up and down the stairs or need help getting dressed, that sort of thing. So whereas at 16 years of age, we didn't have any concept of any of that. And we were also like, why doesn't she just get rid of that husband if she doesn't like him so much? And I don't think it ever really crossed Hagar's mind to get rid of him. I think I know at a certain point she just decides she's had enough. But she was really the reason for her own problem more so than him. He was one of these guys who's like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And so she took it and took it and took it until one day she couldn't. And like I say, he wasn't a bad guy. He drank too much, but he wasn't abusive. He wasn't verbally abusive. He didn't squander the money really. Well, yeah, I mean, he squandered the money on beer, but he didn't think he was squandering it. He was having a great time with his friends. And that's who she married, someone who drank with his friends. So this bed is not comfortable for sitting on. It's great for sleeping on, but it's designed for people who are a good 1.5 feet taller than me, so I have to hop in and out. My feet don't touch the ground. So I'm constantly sliding off the edge. Where was I? Bram the husband. And he's got pie in the sky ideas about what to do with the farm. And I mean, he never gets them into big financial he always manages to just kind of make a go of it. Some of the years of this story are taking place in the Depression, and they're not really heavily hit, not as badly as other farming communities. Well, we all agreed that it really wasn't a good book for a teenager. But then we also talked about King Lear and just how King Lear taught in the high schools to teenagers is also a bit of a silly thing to do because, Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet or some of the ones with battles or kings, those stories of Shakespeare, you can kind of get from point A to point B to point C, but King Lear has got these incredibly convoluted, misunderstood relationships with his family, and I really think in a way you could do a comparison essay of King Lear and Hagar. I wonder if anybody ever did. So yeah, just in terms of a teenager understanding who Hagar is and what she's all about. No, I don't think I understood it at all. And certainly none of the other group did. And the gal from Minnesota goes, "You got this in high school? That's crazy." So I think all of us agreed. Not one of us had forgotten the book. We did, as I said, none of us remembered the same things or the same amounts. But it's a book that stayed with us for, that's decades. And so our conclusions were that this is a really intriguing character that has very little personal development, but she stays with you. I've never forgotten Hagar, and even some of the things that she gets up to, I've never forgotten, which is why I was happy to reread it. I think I'm actually going to put a little note on this book and say, read when you're 80. And just say, all right, this is the goal of what not to do when I'm 80. So, yeah, highly recommend. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 read. And the only reason I wouldn't give it a full 5 out of 5 is she does have a couple of tiny little glimmers of self-awareness. And I would have liked to have seen her reach out just a little bit more. I don't want to give it all away. She does have a few like redeeming moments in the last weeks of her life. But I think with respect to her children, I think, and Bram, I just think there were a couple of opportunities where she could have just cracked it a little. And I think that's, yeah. To be so intransigent, I think that's a good word. Let's go with intransigent. I think it just must be such a hard life for her. I mean, just imagine the loneliness. And that's what we can do now as, in my age bracket. You can look at this woman and just feel some compassion and sort of some pity, really. And just, how terribly lonely she must have been all those years. So, yeah. Great book, Margaret Laurence. Now I read and think I reviewed it a little while ago, Bird in the House, and that was super good. And what we did remember, because someone looked at the back of the book, is that there are 5 books in this series. The one I just said, Bird in the House, I think is the first one. Where are we here? Okay, so I'm not sure where it starts. I think it starts with the Stone Angel. Then we get a jest of God, the Fire Dwellers, a Bird in the House, and the Diviners. And I think they are linked through geography, the town, and the townsfolks, and so on. Now, she has written for young adults, which I did not know. And she also has a couple of books of letters, 2 autobiographies, and 2 books of essays, and then a couple of other fictions. So if you like Margaret Laurence, her backlist is going to really be something that you're going to enjoy. I think the book club is not going to go forward with this series, but it's something that we all said will probably continue on our own. And so I have the Diviners on my shelf. So this summer in the used bookstores, I'm going to keep an eye out for the Jest. What did I say? Something about Jest of God. And these are library books for me. So I think I will also keep an eye out for the used books, the Stone Angel and Bird in the House. Yeah, both of them I just picked up from the library. So I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. And I will see you, I don't know, we're supposed to be going to St. John. I'm going to make another attempt at doing a travel book vlog. We'll see if we can add that to the pile of failures. Bye-bye for now.